It was the summer of 2024. I was surfing around the sea of crackheads in the rat rod territory of Facebook Marketplace when I came upon something that caught my eye. It was a 1935 Chevy Master Deluxe in primer. I wasted no time in jumping into the Buick to go take a look at it, for this vehicle was nothing like I'd ever seen before. It had always been on my bucket list to own a vehicle with suicide doors, but since I already owned a land yacht, a Lincoln Continental was not on my agenda. I would find the right car for the right price with double the normal amount of suicide doors in rural Virginia, deep in the woods. It's advisable to never buy a vehicle that's wearing primer, but I broke my own rule on this occasion, mainly because of the package deal I was getting. This vehicle belonged to an older gentleman who intended to hot rod it, but unfortunately ran out of time and money to finish it. He did complete all the work that is beyond my ability, to include Mustang 2 suspension, altering the frame, motor mounts, and crossmember to accept a small block Chevy and Turbo 400, and also he did a bang-up job on creating a perfectly smooth firewall and fabricating a transmission tunnel to handle the Turbo 400's girth. In the rear was a 10-bolt and upgraded suspension as well. There are disc brakes at all four corners, which I believe came from an early 2000s S10, and the steering column was out of a 1989 Chevy truck. From what isn't being hidden by primer, the body has very little rust, with only a few places on the bottoms of the doors and on the skirts. One of the rear doors has a lower patch panel that's going to require me to get more involved, but overall the doors open and shut really well, which tells me some woodwork was probably done on this car at some point. I proceeded to bring my new problem to my workshop, which at the time happened to be a storage unit, which is definitely against the rules, but I was able to make friends with the storage facility owners, and they averted their eyes whenever I got to work. In doing a quick once over of the small block that came with the car, I pulled the intake manifold and put a borescope through various orifices. And as far as I could tell, the engine had never been run before. Naturally, I have my bad ideas during transition periods in my life, and I had little time left in this storage unit before I would need to move down to North Carolina. So I got to work immediately, with the first item on my agenda being mounting the engine and transmission. I definitely didn't buy the wrong torque converter first time I tried to mate the two. I used my 4 feet of space in front of the storage unit to swing the wrecking ball straight into the firewall before settling it into its new home. Next, I wanted to verify that this engine had the potential to run. With a little bit of creative wiring and some brake clean, the engine made its first happy explosions at the cost of my leg hairs, since I was standing next to the open headers. The engine timing was not where it needed to be, but at least I knew it would run. Little did I know that this small experiment of mine would reveal a bit of a problem underneath one of the valve covers, but we'll get into that in the next video. I want to close this one out by going over some fun facts and a little bit of history. The four rear hinge doors was a 1 year only design, and a trend also followed by Pontiac and Oldsmobile for 1935. A big highlight for this year was the introduction of what they called the turret top construction, which just meant that the roof was made of all steel rather than having a fabric insert, as vehicles had before 1935. Additionally, this was the first year for a dual pane glass windshield, as well as the radiator cap moving beneath the hood instead of being integrated into the hood ornament. They were branded as the most finely balanced low-priced car ever built, and depending on the options, one of which being whether you wanted knee action independent front suspension or not, pricing for a Master Deluxe could range from $560 to $675. And by 1935, auto sales had begun rebounding following the brunt of the Great Depression in the early 30s, and about 346,000 Master Deluxe models were built. This is a photograph of what my car originally looked like. As you can see, it was once very beautiful. May it serve as motivation for my future endeavors in restoring it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.